everyone, welcome to the next episode of Azure on Air. And today I have a very interesting guest. His name is Sathish Veerapandian. So, to talk about Satish is a certified Microsoft infrastructure and cloud architect with hands on 15 years of international proven experience in planning, design, execution, integration, operations, and IT management. So, over time, he has developed complete IT implementation skills on Microsoft infrastructure and cloud projects within various sectors. Apart from being highly specified professional stack, he's also experienced in giving good talks. He's a very good speaker and blogger. Considering his contributions to the community, he has also been awarded as the Microsoft MVP for the past 8 years. So we are very happy to have you on our show, Satish.
How to get started with Azure automation accounts. In the Microsoft stack, we have a lot of options that we can automate, and we can completely also monitor the status and track. It's always better to look into the security perspective and the compliance perspective. Hi, Amrita. First, thanks to the Coway.co for giving me an opportunity to talk about. We can talk about a topic in the Microsoft stack. That's the first thing I wanted to say. Thanks. Yeah, and on this series, I'm going to start by giving a small, overview about how to get started with Azure automation accounts in the first place, and then we'll have a couple of series. So that we can complete it with a full overview and understanding of utilizing the Azure automation accounts.
So, like Satish mentioned to the audience, this podcast is going to be a series where we're going to have three continuous podcasts with Satish regarding Azure automation and its implementation and real time use cases. So, based on that, I would like to have the very first question for you, Satish. Let's start from the scratch. Let me and the audience understand what is Azure automation.
Okay, so this is one of the question that comes from most of the people, because in the Microsoft stack we have a lot of options that we can automate. Um, Let me start with one small example, because in the Azure automation we can benefit a lot, especially for the IT admins, because as we know, admins always has a meticulous task of performing the updates of the devices and the servers which is present in the complete environment. So they need to work off hours, they need to work during the weekends, and then they need to handle the updates. In this case, there is a possibility, in a large environment, not effective management of updates is possible. With the Azure automation account, we can effectively manage these kind of automation activities completely from the Microsoft Azure by using the automation account, and we can completely also monitor the status and track them. So that's the main benefit, one of the main benefit of utilizing the Azure automation for managing your updates for the VMs running in the Azure, as well as for your machines which is running in your data center.
So we just had an idea now about what Azure automation is. Now I would like to understand, do we have any implementation approach for this, or can you just share us with how it's been done?
So this is also a very good, interesting question, because the first question is like that comes how to start, because like there is a lot of companies where they are ready to approach and move to the cloud, but even in a company you have multiple departments. Like one department can say, okay, we are ready for the cloud, and then we are ready to move all our applications and configurations and start utilizing. But there are few departments that would say no, we have a challenge in the security, we cannot move to the cloud. So for the first thing is how to start is, you need to first identify the business case. For example, in terms of admin, what is the most repetitive ones to be identified? Okay, let's talk about the Windows updates. It's overburden to the admins, like where they need to perform the updates of business hours. So that's the most time-consuming task, which an IT team can take. Just take the Windows performing updates, and then just look for a risk assessment. Okay, if you say there is any risk of doing this from the cloud, yes, of course you can do a risk assessment with your security team, it can be evaluated, and then it can after the evaluation, uh, you can just pick one business case and make it a successful proof of concept. So what is a business case? Like, it could be, for example, you are going to choose performing only Windows security updates. You can target it for a group of member servers in your environment. You're going to see how you're going to perform the Windows updates. After checking this on your group of member servers, which is on your environment, you can pick few from your data center, few from which is running in the Azure, and then see the results. And after you make it a successful, then you're going to see the productivity efficiency of the admins, because you can see you can assign this task. You can pick one or two admins in your organization, and then ask them to handle the updates from this methodology, and you're going to see how effectively they are performing the updates and how effectively they are tracking them. So this is the best way to start with the Azure automation for one of the use case.
So when you speak about this updates, right? Can you just explain us which part of the business would definitely require this? You definitely mentioned that it's about the IT teams or the admin teams, right? How efficient is that in helping them?
So in terms of efficiency, of course, efficient update management mechanism helps for any ongoing attention and the ever evolving nature of the technology, because the technology is improving each and every day. Even the technology is improving, parallelly we also see a lot of security breaches. So in order to mitigate all these scenarios, we as an admin, we also needs to make sure that our all our environment is fully updated. The VMs and the servers and appliances, whatever it is present in our environment, needs to be updated and patched, so that we are covered by all these kind of attacks. So we are covered by preventing all these kind of attacks. So this complicated work of tracking and deploying the software updates to the machines in Azure, as well as on your data center, could be effectively managed with these kind of benefits, which is coming from the Microsoft Azure. Because creating an automation account is just a matter of a few hours, and then making a strategy and plan, and defining this for your IT team makes it very simple to preserve the operational effectiveness, address the security concerns, and also lower the dangers of growing the cybersecurity threats. And an efficient software update management procedure will be perfectly handled with this method.
Like you mentioned about the security and how it's been managed with these updates, right? Can you also let me know what specific domains are currently adopting to this Azure automation, specifically regarding the updates management that we have in this series?
Okay. Okay, so you can also, this is also a very good question, because when we are talking about the update management, yes, if you're talking about an update management in a quite a large environment, it's not only Windows machine, it's also you have Linux variants, you have some appliances. So all this thing, you can manage it completely. So, for example, when you're going to schedule this update from the automation account, you have first to add the Azure VMs, which is very simple. If you have your VMs which is running on the Azure, no matter it is Linux or no matter it is Windows, you'll be able to add it without any problem. And also, you have an option to add a non-Azure machine. So when we're talking about add a non-Azure machine, it's just as simple as that. Your environment where your VMs or where your machine is running needs to have connectivity to the Azure environment. So they just connect to the automation account, something called Azure Arc, which we can see detailed in the next upcoming series. With that, you'll be able to manage your VMs, your Windows, Linux, or even appliance which is running in a data center. So it is possible to manage any host which is running on a data center. It is not specific only for the Windows. So that's the best part of using the update management in the Azure Automation account.
So you just gave us the pros of Azure automation, update management in Azure automation. But what if it's misplaced in the wrong position? What would be the cons of it?
Okay. So that's a very good question. And also, we have an option to track that because we really need to, talk about the benefit of utilizing this. Because, okay, a question can come: what is the difference between admin using an update in his own way of automation, and what is the benefit of an admin using an update management through this automation account? The main benefit is, yes, like what can go wrong. For example, I have like targeted 10 machines through this automation account. This 10 machines, like let's say five of them is running in the Azure, and remaining five of them is running in my data center. uh, let's say if one of the VM is just turned off, I could see that directly on the portal in the automation account in the Azure. It could say your machine is turned off. Azure is not able to reach that particular mission. So, like for example, it would say it failed the update deployments because your VM is or your host is not reachable for the last 5 days or last 10 days. So this makes the admin to be aware of, okay, there is something ongoing issue with that particular machine which is turned off, or it is having a problem with the connectivity, and hence I'm missing performing update on that particular VM or a machine. I can turn that on, or I can ask the service desk team to go and turn it back on, so that the update can be again initiated and triggered on that particular host. So which is very good. I would say one of the main benefit. So what can go wrong is very minimal in this case. That's what I would say.
So we see a lot of benefits reaping out of this implementation. So like you mentioned about the security in between our talks, right? How well does this benefit the security of a specific organization or any business if they are trying to implement this Azure automation in terms of updates management?
Okay, so because okay, as you stated, there are few methods of doing the updates management. Like for example, even from the Azure, the first option is like an admin can go and do the updates, managing the updates from the automation account one, or two, he can go and do the update management by browsing into that particular VM and doing that, or three, he can do the update management directly from the Azure VM. So what is the benefit it is going to reap out of it is, the first thing is like your Azure automation account is going to show you a summary, because this Azure automation account is completely working in the backend with monitoring as a key criteria in place. Because whatever the VMs and whatever the host that you're adding to this particular automation account, it is going to give you a summary of what are the machines which is compliant and what are the machines which is non-compliant, and what are the machines that is missing the critical security updates. So by looking into that, I can say I have 20 machines targeted to my automation account, and I see, okay, there are two machines where it is missing the important security updates. So this gives me easier tracking, and then identifying the reason behind why these machines are missing the critical security updates. I can simply go and do the deep dive troubleshooting and see the result. That's the main benefit of the security aspect of managing the update through the automation account.
That's really interesting. So, can you just give us a real time use case that you dealt with, if it is shareable for the audience?
Okay, okay. I can give you one of the example, because like yeah, this was just one of the testing. I'm just doing it for like the past 6 months, because this was really needed to test. So what I noticed that is like for instance, if your devices are not reachable, for example, you can see them directly on section which is saying, okay, there is something called history first. In the automation account, you can create an update deployment. So which is like, in the update deployment, you can say, I'm going to schedule an update deployment to happen on a particular day in a month, or I can say I'm going to make this update deployment happen on a particular hour in a day. So I can do the update deployments in two methods. Like I can say, okay, do the monthly updates on every last Saturday of a month, and I can do say do some updates, critical updates on every Friday evening, of a second week of a Friday. I can do something like that. In the history, it would always say, just in case if there is something failure on your maintenance window, it would say. It would give you the results of the update run status. Like I can say, I can see like out of 5 machines, for example, I see 3 machines failed to start because that's the reason it was not able to trigger the update, which means like those 3 machines were never online, or were never able to reach because of their network issues. And it would say, okay, one of the machine maintenance window exceeded, or it is too small. What does that mean is like that machine performance is not really good because the computing unit of that particular machine is not able to handle the update maintenance time. So in that case, you have to increase the update maintenance time to a little bit of extra, let's say from 60 minutes to 120 minutes. So this is one of the real-time scenario which I also noticed, because it would simply show in the monitoring portal, this particular device failed to start, and that's the reason we are not able to perform the update, or even it would say it's not able to reach. So these kind of things really helps the admins to manage it from completely from the automation accounts.
Amazing. So hearing it through a real-time perspective really hits different. Yeah. So that was an interesting bundle of knowledge that you transferred to us. So before we wind up, I just have a final question for you. So we just spoke about the benefits, cons, and where it can be used, etc. But do we have any prerequisite to go through this implementation, to go ahead with this implementation of Azure Automation? Do we have any defined prerequisites that an organization should be aware of?
That's also a very good question, because the first thing is like you need to do like any organization before going into this automation account, they need to do the initial discovery. So what does that mean is like you need to understand what is the first methodology of the current update mechanism that's been taken care in the IT team. The first thing is like if they do something a kind of an automation, if they do have some kind of semi monitoring mechanism, it's always better to understand the process and what is the current update methodology they are using it. And then after that, yeah, of course, if there are a lot of organization who are doing a compliance assessment before deploying any kind of a new solution. So it's always better to look into the security perspective and the compliance perspective. Okay, if your security team is fine and okay to do the update mechanism via this methodology. If that's the case, then I would always first suggest to choose a few pilot groups of devices, and target it to pilot admins, see the results, and then proceed further in a phased approach. So that's the first initial discovery phase, which is very important to understand the current mechanism, and what is the benefit that would give them in terms of moving to the Azure Automation account updates.
Fantastic. So, Satish, that was a very brilliant session from your end. So, I would like to also give a heads up to the audience who are listening. Like we mentioned, it's going to be a series. So, Satish, can you just throw a light on what our next session would be? Just a quick overview on what we're going to have in the next session so that people will have a continuation.
Yeah, sure. In the next session, we would see something that is yeah, of course, there is a lot of things which we could look into the Azure Automation accounts. So in the next podcast series, we could talk about the Azure Automation state configuration, how effectively you can monitor your applications through the Azure Automation state configuration. And yeah, of course, after that, the last series, we could also talk about how to manage your actual automation tasks from the Azure Automation accounts. So these two things we could see in the upcoming podcast series.
We're already excited to know all about that. And To the audience, if you want to know more about this, stay tuned with me and Satish because you're going to have us continuously for the next two podcasts as well. So, this is not just one series for you to stop, you have more knowledge to dig deeper into the specific Azure automation landscape. So I think, Satish, it was a very great session. As he said, we had a lot of learnings from this session, and we are looking forward to learn more from the next two series as well.
Cove.co